We have new CNN reporting this morning about a deliberate effort from Donald Trump's legal team to pit federal judges against each other, all in an effort to avoid going to trial before Election Day. As of now, the election interference case in Washington is on hold as the Supreme Court weighs Trump's claim of presidential immunity. Now, on Friday, the judge in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case holds a crucial hearing on timing in that case, and the Trump team hopes it will set off a chain reaction that could last past Election Day. CNN's Caitlin Polantz is here for your inaugural appearance on the 7 a.m. edition of CNN News Central. Caitlin, what have you learned?
Well, John, Donald Trump doesn't want to go to trial. That's not new, but the strategy that he is going to be employing through his lawyers does appear to be something we're going to see play out in the coming days. So right now, Trump is set to go to trial in New York in his hush money case at the end of March. That'll block out the calendar for him to be in trial as a criminal defendant late March to about mid-May. Then the calendar's open after that, and there are two federal cases that are vying for the possible places on that calendar. There's the possibility that that January 6th case in Washington, D.C. could get back into the hands of the trial court and could be headed to trial. And then, of course, his Florida documents case. But just this week, his lawyers are headed into a really crucial hearing in that Florida documents case before Judge Aileen Cannon. They have a trial set for the end of May. It's very likely that that's going to get moved. So what they want to do is move it just a little bit, just a month or two into July, and then the possibility could arise, because that case is so complicated with classified documents, that it might have to move again. So it would essentially elbow out any other trial if it just has a place in the calendar and gets moved along through the summer, so Trump would achieve his ultimate goal of not going to trial before the election. I spoke to a bunch of sources about this, and the ultimate goal is not just that he doesn't want to go to trial in these federal cases. He especially doesn't want to go to trial in his January 6, 2020 election case before Judge Tanya Chutkan in Washington, D.C. Really a high-stakes case that would put on display what Donald Trump was doing during the last election. And what one of the people told me was the entire goal here is to ice Judge Tanya Chutkan, make it impossible for him to go to trial before her.
I think we call that a bait and switch, Caitlin, or the legal term might be Lucy in the football. Caitlin Polantz, thank you very much for your reporting on this. We'll talk to you again soon. Kate.
Joining us right now, CNN legal analyst Karen Friedman-Agnifilo and former U.S. Attorney Harry Litman. Let's just dive into what Caitlin is reporting, that it's all about the calendar, and it's kind of the domino effect of if it gets a little bit pushed, this one gets a little bit pushed, trying to pit the judges against each other, essentially. Does this make sense as a strategy? Yes. None of this there's no precedent for any of this, but does it make sense to you, Harry?
Yes, so it could. It depends what will happen with the Supreme Court in the immunity appeal. But if they take that case, you're looking probably at about a July trial back with Judge Chutkan. And really, you could say losing the football. I think in basketball, the term would be a moving pick, because the idea is that Trump will use his fairly simpatico judge so far in Mar-a-Lago, Judge Cannon, to move things a little, then a little more, then a little more. They'll block July, that's the hope, but then they will move it thereafter, later, after Judge Chutkan's already been sort of boxed out. That's the play here.
If that's the play, and it's being reported on and it's known, is there anything a singular judge can do to avoid being iced out, boxed out, being part of this play, Karen? I mean, what do you see here?
So it's clear that that's what's being done, because delay has always been Donald Trump's tactic. He doesn't want to face any of these cases. But federal practitioners, state practitioners, judges, anyone who practices trial law or criminal trial prosecution, everybody knows what is going on here. This is not news to any of the people involved. And so that's why they will make sure that they aren't used as a pawn in this game. If these cases can go, they will go. So I am not as concerned from a strategic standpoint. It's really just a matter of whether they can fit these cases in and whether there is enough time. As Harry said, waiting on the Supreme Court is really the key as to when Judge Chutkan's case will go. Everybody knows that the Cannon case is not going in May, despite the fact that she won't take it off the calendar. So that is clear to the people involved.
It seems someone looking from the outside in might think, okay, so one gets pushed and another has to be pushed back. Is there a universe of possibility that how the calendar lines up, some of this overlaps?
Very much so, and of course, that's the thing about a criminal trial. The defendant actually has to be there. So a judge won't schedule it for it actually to be overlapping, but they talk to one another, and there's, we already know that they sort of check in, when will yours really go, etc. Judge Cannon, though, is the big variable here because to all appearances, she now has a whole set of motions that could push things a little more. We'll know Friday. She has a scheduling hearing, and it's already pretty clear she's going to push it just on what she's done so far before even this whole set of motions came in last week. So she could go to about July, and that would encumber things if it stays there, and of course it may well not stay there.
Because when it comes to what Judge Cannon is faced with, there is the very complicated element of classified documents that are involved in this case. Is that going to be the core of any delay, any push? Is just everything that out of necessity is involved with classified documents?
It doesn't have to be, but it could, for sure. And Donald Trump, one of the motions that he has made is he wants access to more than stuff that's relevant to the case. He wants access to documents
That's where some of the fighting is about, right?
Correct, to things that have nothing to do with the case, and that's causing a delay. So in some ways, it's unclear whether he actually wants these irrelevant documents or whether he's utilizing this as a way to just continue to push the case so that there is delay.
One quick
She
question.
tends to be indulgent on that where other judges aren't, so it could always be a hearing, briefing, etc., and the weeks tick off.
One quick question beyond court dates. There's also time pressure that Donald Trump seems to be under to start putting up money for the civil judgments that have come against him. A reminder to everyone, Donald Trump is ordered to pay $355 million penalty plus interest now in the civil fraud case, and he faces an $83.3 million judgment in the defamation case brought by E. Jean Carroll. Trump, he's vowed to appeal, but that doesn't necessarily stop the clock in terms of when he needs to start putting up some kind of money. What happens here?
Yeah, on the contrary, it starts the clock. So last Friday, that big judgment, $350, maybe $450, depending on interest, is now ticking. He has 30 days to put up a big bond, and if he doesn't have the cash, and we really don't know about his liquidity, it looks like he's going to have to post collateral and maybe encumber or even sell some of his landmark crown jewel buildings.
Yeah, so add that to the calendar of things that we really have to keep an eye on. It's great to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming in.